again, is parts and labor, and that parts and labor is at our factory. It does not include going to the site and removing that part and repairing and getting it repaired and then putting it back in. We do have 90 days on site after the siren system's accepted, which was the end of March. So we have 90 days that labor is going to be covered on that parts also. So I think that from that standpoint, the issue needs to be how are we going to maintain them, who's going to go out and take the responsibility to take those parts out. You can call Federal Signal and we will arrange to do it on a fee basis, or you can hire a local contractor, which would be more expeditious because local people are going to get in a lot faster than we might. So that's where I'm coming from at this point, if anyone has any further questions.
Let me just ask you, there was a statement made that there was a 5-year warranty on the sirens and stuff like that. Was that an accurate statement?
There is a 5-year warranty on the 2001 rotating siren that lasts 30 or 40 that you purchased. Okay. That's with a siren motor and the siren head on top of the pole.
The motor and the head only?
That's correct.
Okay.
2 years on everything else.
Okay. Are we approaching the end of the 2 years on the first 10 that we purchased?
We should be close because those were put in January of 08.
All right.
So let me ask, how many do we have with the 5-year warranty at this point? Do you have that number?
30 of them? 2001. Yeah, we have about 30 of them.
30.
That's correct.
Well, the only other question I have is, at this particular point, so it's your recommendation that we do continue to have some type of maintenance on them based on the fact that...
I wouldn't say maintenance, I would say service, because what would happen at this point is, let's say that a component went out on one of the boards, a fuse blew or something. Someone's got it. We do not cover going out to that site, so you need to pay someone to go out to that site, check and find out what the problem is, and then replace the defective part. The defective part is covered, and any repair to that part is covered. But the travel to and from the site is not covered.
Okay, I'd like to hear from Director Lewis now about this.
And I concur with Mr. Plant. Basically, the maintenance of the sirens in the areas can be done by a maintenance department. That could be something that they could do. And basically, that only requires cutting the grass and things of that nature. But I agree that we do need some type of service agreement. And my recommendation basically would be just to do an RFP for a service agreement for the L1 sirens and go from there. Because, as I state, the maintenance around the areas, and you have to keep in mind also, a lot of these units are concrete poles. So that's my recommendation.
So your recommendation is going to be that we do a RFP and send it out for on an as-needed basis, or what?
Basically a service contract, yes.
Service contract. So are you further saying that we need to disregard the contract that we currently have?
Basically, yes, sir.
Now, how do we include that? And Mr. Plant just mentioned the fact that we still have some older sirens, and we still have to have someone to go out and make sure that they're operating or when they're not operating. Do we include both that together, or would that be separate?
I would do the same contract, because whoever is awarded that contract, one thing I think you need to make sure is that they have been trained and they have a certificate of certification from federal to know how to maintain all of the equipment. The other thing that you need to remember in looking at different companies is that you also have a Motorola trunk operating system operating within the siren system. that needs to be incorporated. So you need someone that knows the radio aspect of it, that knows the technical aspect of it as far as federal signal is concerned. Because the radio is probably the most subject to getting knocked out by lightning or other power surges or other damage. And that's a critical component. But if you'll remember, on the old sirens, a lot of the problems we had was the low band operating system. The radios weren't operating. So if you don't keep the radio system operating, that Jimmy doesn't get his report that he's got a bad siren, and the sirens will not activate. Now, as far as the older sirens, and I need Jimmy or someone else that's familiar with the system, I think we're only maintaining 7 of the older sirens in the current system. Is that correct?
2001.
5. Right.
Well, let me hopefully make a suggestion, so that we get with, Mr. Planter and find out exactly what we need and possibly come back in the next board meeting and we'll do it all exactly what we need. Right now, I'm not a technician, so, but you may know, and then come back and get a motion as to exactly what we need to go out for.
There are 5 that are now operational. There are additional 3 or 4 that also need to be included on that. They're the older ones we're talking about.
That's what I'm
Over
saying.
2001. Right.
Give us an opportunity to put all that information together, and we'll know exactly what we're going out to get.
The whole entire purpose, Mr. President, and I agree with you, is to make sure that it's important that people know that we have been transparent and that we are going to be transparent as it relates to what we're doing. And I think that it is a good suggestion that we do go ahead and go out for an RFP, and we do it at the next board meeting, and that will give us an opportunity to get this taken care of in a most expedient way by doing it that way. Mr. Plant will be able to help us, and along with working with Mr. Lewis, they come back and make their recommendation so we can go ahead and move forward.
Yeah, because other things that we need to include in any RFP, I'm adamant that every siren should be inspected every year. And not so much for maintenance, but you've got other issues. You've got the way the head is attached, the bolts still in place if they come loose, because we got to worry about winds during storms. There's just a lot of grounding system still intact, because if it's corrupted in any way, that's going to make us more subject to lightning damage. So an annual inspection and batteries and the chargers, make sure they're not corroded. And then starting in about 4 years, you're going to have to start factoring in replacing batteries, which that should be part of the long-term contract.
Okay, Ms. Campbell.
I don't think it was figured out whether or not we should request services. We should retain a company to provide services or request services on as needed basis.
My suggestion was to request someone. When we consider as-need basis, I feel we want to get provided with the immediate services that we need. Say, for instance, you have something that goes on and you want to call a company and you need that service immediately. It might take them a month or so. But I figured if we would initiate a contract, then that would give us the flexibility of having immediate services provided to us.
Okay. Okay, then,
So what they're going to do is come back.
and I would hope that what the 2 of you all would do is come back with we'll know more about what we need, and come back and we can put that into the contract and go out. I mean, you put that into RFP. Go ahead.
No, I just have another question.
Okay, go ahead.
I just have one other question if we're finished with this particular item.
Yes, unless there's some other questions from board.
Did you, I forgot to ask you earlier, did you show any damage at Lake Hyco?
The Lake Hyco area, the storm, from all indication, it blew down a tree at the power services property. when the storm went up and went over it, and there was no damage there at the immediate Lake Hyco Park area. It went across the street.
Other than some trees down.